Welcome to Busted Speakers. I am Alex,
And I'm Cam.
and today we're doing a double review in one episode. But first, we are covering the new album from the absolute legends, Pet Shop Boys, Hotspot. Dynamic electronic pop duo who began in the 80s. The absolute legends Neil Tennant and Chris Lowe are back for their 14th album, Hotspot. And I'd like to say it's just a solid continuation of their sound, I'd say. They're one of those bands that have a distinct sound that is very much only theirs. Lots of bands from the 80s had this, like you hear a Depeche Mode song, you hear a New Order song, you kind of know it's them, and it's the same with the Pet Shop Boys. It's Neil Tennant's distinctive voice and Chris Lowe's distinct synth keyboard playing together with the songs they write, just distinctly Pet Shop Boys, and this still rings true today. It's a formula that they've used quite well over the years, and I think it's still used pretty well on this album.
Yep, I can't disagree with you there. I don't think I've heard any albums they've released this decade or since 2000 even, except for maybe one. So I can't really say how this fits in their late career because I've only got most of their albums from the 80s and a couple from the 90s. And I really like everything I've heard. From all those albums, I don't think that they have a single bad one or even less than good. But
Yeah.
at the same time, they're one of those bands who they have such a distinct sound that they just tweak in places here and there. But they don't really overhaul or the common thing to say is whether or not a band has evolved or developed their sound or anything. And I'm sure they have, but it's just I couldn't honestly tell you the difference between most of their stuff, but I still really like them. And this album is, just more of that. It's just more of them doing, the sound that they've more or less perfected by this point, and I really don't see anything wrong with that.
No, definitely not. I would say that this album has some distinct highlights, but also there's definitely a general level of solidness where every song is at least pretty good, like you say, and you can't complain about it. I'm sure it'll make a lot of die-hard fans happy, and even if you've barely followed the Pet Shop Boys and you just know them from a couple of hits on the radio, you just notice this album out there on the shelves. You're like, oh, Pet Shop Boys, I like them. I like a few hits. I feel like it'll make those people happy too because that sound is so uniform and distinct for them that I can't see those type of people, the surface level casual fans, of which I'm very nearly am one, as I've not even heard close to as many of their albums as you have, Cam, despite being a big fan of theirs. It's a weird position to be in, I admit. I'd say the songs Will of the Wisp, Happy People, and Dreamland are pretty excellent, upbeat songs that just I can't complain with. They're just excellent. Dreamland has a features Years and Years. Have you ever heard much from them, Cam?
I've never even heard of them until right now.
They're so this is almost like a passing of the torch band because they over the last decade in the UK, European charts, I think Australian as well, have they definitely a sort of electro pop group that couldn't exist obviously without the Pet Shop Boys influence, and are pretty good. Some solid songs like Kin. On this song though, I would say you can't even tell that they're on it until the sort of auto-tuned vocals towards the end, which are distinctly Ollie Alexander, the lead singer of Years and Years. But it's a nice song. Do you want to comment on what the glaring bad song on this album?
Monkey Business?
Oh, I was actually going to say Wedding in Berlin.
Oh, I wasn't so sure about that one. I don't even think Monkey Business is that bad. It's
Yeah,
just
I wouldn't say
kind of a
yeah.
weird goof of a song that it just feels a little bit out of place, especially with the female vocals in the background just repeating Monkey Business. It's just a little too silly. If the entire album was songs of that level, I think it would be a lot worse.
Yeah,
Because that would just feel like they were spinning their wheels without trying to write good stuff,
that one actually did feel like sort of disposable fun though that they were having fun with, and yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's not offensively bad. It's just
no.
so. What did you not like about Wedding in Berlin?
It just mainly felt like a shoddy 90s Europop beat and incorporating the wedding march. I definitely like the message they're doing here, but it just felt very musically bizarre to end the album on to me.
Yeah, I guess you're. I hadn't thought about it in terms of Europop, but since you mentioned that, that really does kind of feel like that the sort of novelty thing we would have had in the '90s, like back in the days of Barbie Girl and all that stuff.
Yeah, just incorporating. It doesn't even really work. Like it just mishmashes from the wedding march theme, which I guess is the closest to a chorus, just the theme itself, and then back to the bounce of the Europop. And I like some Europop. It just feels like a bizarre note to end the album on. Like when those first notes of the song start up, I'm just thinking, well, this is different. This doesn't fit in with the rest of the album. I guess it makes, if you're going to include it at all, it makes sense to be at the very end, because then it doesn't clash within the album's other songs. Just quickly want to note that Burning the Heather was a nice change of pace too, because it had some guitar played by Suede's Bernard Butler, actually.
Yeah, I read about that. That was pretty cool.
Pretty cool, yeah, and also I feel like it had some soft xylophone parts to it as well, which was also it's just a nice change of pace. You've got faster songs, you've got slower songs. It basically covers the basis. It's at the end of the day going into our score summaries, I guess now, unless you want to say anything else.
Not really. Just the choice of singles seemed kind of weird to me. Singles in order were Dreamland, Burning the Heather, and Monkey Business.
Well, for
Um,
Dreamland, it's definitely they were looking at the Europe sort of not the specifically the American market because the wow factor of having years and years on the track is definitely something very cool.
yeah, that's
And it
fair.
did chart pretty well, actually. 11 in Scotland. I must have heard it a few times actually last year.
Okay.
It did seem a bit familiar. Not too many times, a few times maybe.
Yeah, that's
Uh,
fair. And then I guess it's also they wanted to release it because it's the subject of it is like a world without borders, basically. So in
oh
the
yeah, yeah.
in the days of Brexit, obviously that's probably something that they felt they should share.
A very pertinent message for sure.
It was just like those three tracks, like they don't like stick out like sore thumbs on the album, but I would have expected an absolute, banger like Will o' the Wisp to be a single. But
Yeah, I'm surprised that wasn't a single, or even though it definitely isn't a lead single, maybe third would be, Happy People would probably be better than Monkey Business. Bird in the Heather is a great song,
yeah, it is, but
or
it's
at least very good, but it's not really a single.
no. Like I'm not sure what they're trying to say about the album by making that a single. So,
Maybe they just want to give it a little bit more focus. It'll get some radio play by being the second single on a few select stations, definitely not major commercial ones, but it's not going to run the gauntlet of being a hit. Those days are kind of behind them, and I think they're just happy releasing music they like nowadays that they still have fun with. So, yeah, getting into our final thoughts and ratings. I'm going to give this a 6 out of 10. Definitely, if you're a Pet Shop Boys fan, you'll find a lot to like here. They actually do try a few different things within their own distinct, comfortable sound. I mean, at the end of the day, it's the Pet Shop Boys. They're legends, man. You know what to expect, and I'm happy with what I got here.
yep, I'm gonna give this a soft 7. I just love anytime a legacy act releases something that's actually still good. Like it's absolutely in their wheelhouse, but at the same time, it's clear that they're not just phoning it in.
That was our review of Pet Shop Boys Hotspot, obviously. And this is something new now. We're going to actually transition into another review within the same video. Something I've been looking forward to, I feel like, quite a bit. This is Kesha's High Road. And first of all, let's just cover the basis. Rainbow, her last album, I feel like we both quite like that album, right, Cam?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that was a complete change, obviously, considering the lawsuit with Dr. Luke. She had been going through a lot of personal trauma. She'd been to rehab. She had taken a long hiatus from the music industry for those reasons and more, probably, that we don't need to know about. And Rainbow was a culmination of all of that. as well as a big musical change. Gone was the dollar sign from her name, to deliberately distinguishing Rainbow from her previous stuff in that way. And it was still very much pop, but it also went into hard rock, metal, country, folk. Very interesting album, and I thought it was very good. High Road, I've seen people call this a return to full blown pop, and it is that in a way, but I can't. I don't know if we can call it that if we're calling it a return to the full scale Kesha with the dollar sign pop, because I don't feel it's that either. What do you think, about this album?
I agree. It's definitely a continuation of what she was doing on Rainbow more than anything, except maybe with less of a rock edge since she doesn't have
Oh yeah,
like the Eagles of Death Metal guesting on it. It's a pivot more towards country, which there's also like just hints of country on Rainbow because you got Sturgill Simpson on one track. We got some other songs about like cowboy blues, being in love with the cowboy guy,
yeah.
stuff about just like growing up in the South, which like honestly I'm not even sure where she grew up exactly, but like her mom wrote a huge country hit, so she's got some country cred at least.
Yeah, she grew up in Nashville somewhat.
Okay,
There are a few things I want to get off before speaking about specific tracks off the bat here. On first listen, I had to commend this album. While not saying it's any song right now is specifically bad or good, Kesha, and this was true of Rainbow as well, manages to have some of the most eclectic and variety within the pop constructs in an album I have heard. Listening to High Road, which had a lot of songs, I think 16 or something.
it's
Um,
like 15 on the main album, and then there was one that was released as a digital bonus track.
which should be like on the album Summer, which is one of the very best songs. Going from track to track, all of them either just under or just over 4 minutes or quite a bit under. I was like, where is she going to go next in this track? I could never guess or predict where the next song was going while I was listening to this one. It became quite a roller coaster ride of a listen. Bearing that in mind, there are some severe production problems with this album that hinder quite a few of the songs. Maybe not production, but definitely mixing, mastering. Something's not right here. And while listening more and more, it became less of an issue while I became acquainted with the songs, but that was definitely an ongoing issue with the album as a whole for me. Vocally, Kesha's great on here. I feel like this album and Rainbow definitely highlight how great a vocalist she actually really is, in my opinion.
I don't think the mixing and mastering issues are really a big deal after the first couple of songs.
It's more the first three and a couple of others, but they're definitely there for me.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue with this album, I like it, and we're gonna get into that. But for me, the biggest issue is she doesn't really do a great job of striking a balance between the party songs and the serious songs, which I think that balance was handled a bit better on Rainbow. Here, it's like it just swings so wildly in the tone of the songs and the styles that I think that it just doesn't cohere very well. It almost feels like this could be split into like two different EPs. Like you could have the Raising Hell EP, which is like all the party
Yeah,
songs, and then the High Road EP, which is all of the more meaningful sounding songs, or even like the goofier songs could fit on that maybe.
I definitely agree with that. Which is why the way this is structured isn't the best. While I said that at the top of my thoughts, that going from track to track, not knowing what was coming up because of this lack of cohesion, of structuring, or just finding the balance, like you say. First listen, that was quite exciting. Then on subsequent listens where I knew what was coming up, that became a bit of a problem. I definitely was thinking of ways I could cut down or improve it to my own enjoyment myself, which I may do. So, looking down the track list, it begins with Tonight, which does begin with a nice piano ballad opening, which does become the chorus. But then, as soon as those like spoken word rapped parts came in, I was like, oh no, here we go. What is this? Then it became kind of TikTok light in the verses. Don't know if you felt that way as well.
A little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely one of the weaker songs for me on the album. I definitely like the chorus, but I don't like it as a whole, as a party girl anthem. It just felt a bit awkward, and the mastering was some of the worst on the album for me.
Absolutely. And then, is it just me, or did you think that the piano and vocal intro, like her vocals, were just a little too
They
processed?
definitely were, but
Yeah.
yeah,
Like it's not that's not a problem on the rest of the album. It's just like when it's like trying to be this, you know, a big emotional thing that's like also kind of blindsiding you by thinking, oh, it's going to be a piano ballad, but then it turns into a regular pop song. It's like the vocals are the way that they're processed is just a little off-putting.
it's like the overhaul production of the song. In it being a pop song, it means that the piano ballad part can't be produced separately, even though I definitely know songs can be
Mm.
produced separately in different sections. That's just how song production is. But for some reason, yeah, the piano ballad part at the start felt way over processed. Okay, so overall, not a big fan of that one myself.
Nope.
Okay, so I'm probably going to disagree with you on this, but I actually quite like My Own Dance. Do you like it?
I like it, but I don't think it's like we were saying tonight is like way overproduced and badly mastered and everything. I think my own dance could have been even bigger. It doesn't really feel like triumphant or defiant enough to really get its point across. Like I was expecting there to be like a big swell of synthesizers or something at the end of the chorus, but it's just kind of like it happens, it ends, and it gets to the next part of the song. That
Yeah,
happens, it ends.
like those reasons should be why I like the song, but I actually like it because it's a really weird, clunky, trashy song that has really weird drum programming in the chorus, but also has a little bit of that triumphancy that is shown in the lyrics. And I actually quite like the "Don't try and circumcise my circumstance" part because Kesha's awesome.
Yep, I
But
mean, nobody else could really get away with a lyric like that.
that's true. And it's done in such a weird, messy way, but I don't know what it is. It's just the way the drums sound, the way that it's really clunky in the choruses. This is really where the album starts for me. This I don't know if I'd make this the opening track because it definitely opens really weirdly, and it has that weird like flamenco guitar or country. I don't know what it is more of. Yeah, that's definitely a flawed but stronger song, and I like it.
Yep.
Okay, so this is the first single of the album now, Raising Hell. I think it was out released in October 24th, so it's been out a while. I never heard it back then. It definitely didn't chart anywhere. This is okay. It's definitely more EDM, got that big drop, but I do like the message of the song. So overall, I don't like it that much musically, but I definitely like it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
Well, I think it's okay.
I think so.
It's better than Tonight.
Yeah, definitely better than tonight. I feel like it was trying to lean on the expectations that Praying kind of set for Rainbow,
Right.
kind of doing the same thing and being like a song with a bit more, more clean vocals. And as far as a pop singer can have clean versus, not clean vocals.
Yeah. Okay, so decent attempt at a pop hit, EDM type song.
hmm
Check. Okay. This is the first great song of the album for me, High Road, the title track. There's a few aspects of it that kind of shouldn't work because it still has like some weird vocal parts, but on the whole, chorus vocals they're just harmonized or overdubbed in such a way where it becomes really catchy and yeah, definitely worthy of being the title track of the album for me.
Yep, I'd agree. I think that maybe this one could have almost been better served being later in the album, but I mean, then again, in the back end, that's where you get a lot of the more serious songs. Yeah, like some of the like spelling bits in this probably make it a little too goofy to fit all the way in there.
Oh, true, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely think it's a worthy title track.
Yeah. Moving on to Shadow. Now, musically, this probably attempts to be like the praying of the album because it is the dedicated piano ballad of the album. Well, there's a few others that could maybe qualify in the sentiment, but this suffers from some of the mastering problems for me. I feel like the full power of Kesha's voice. Now, she is sinning like hell on this song. She's a great sinner, and this is shown quite a lot in this song, but it's overcompressed so much that the real power of her vocals aren't felt to me. But I still kind of like the song. And the message is good, like, don't let your shadow on my sunshine. I mean, we could all agree with that in some way. It's a good message. I don't know if you'd agree with
Yep.
me that it's the attempt at a praying for the album. I don't think it's given any. It's definitely not released as a single or anything.
I'm not sure I'd agree with that necessarily.
Well, I only thinking musically. I suppose "Raising Hell" is that sentimentally,
I mean that's fair. It is like the sparest song on the album, I think, except for like
and
Resentment, obviously.
yeah, and just for showcasing her vocal chops.
On to Honey, I guess.
I this is maybe one of my least favorite songs on the album.
It definitely doesn't fit as well with everything else.
This feels like a pop soul song that has a very slight gospel elements, and it does have a soul singer on it called Tyler Parks. According to this, it says she is featured extensively on the chorus and hook, and you can hear it, and it definitely gives it a boost vocally. I definitely think there's some mastering problems with this song. Guitar hook, it's kind of good, but very repetitive as well. And I hate the vocal, whoa, 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 hey, hey, hey. I hate those parts. Cut those. I hate when songs have those as well. Just
Hmm.
instead of actual choruses that end naturally, they decide to extend them unnaturally by having those vocalized humming parts, which I don't think improve any song they're on. So that's my take on this song.
Yeah, I didn't really have any strong thoughts about this one. I was confused by it a little bit because it felt to me like it was actually a song that was like a feud song or a diss track kind of thing. So it kind of threw me for a loop, being on everything on this album with everything else. And it definitely does stand out musically, not necessarily in the best way because it's like slower, it's got kind of a stomp to it. It's a little oppressive, but it kind of feels like it's supposed to be.
Yeah,
So it does what it sets out to do. I'm just not sure it's a worthy part of the album necessarily.
it's definitely I definitely like it for sounding powerful and self-assertive. Yeah, but I'm actually thinking now, is this a specific diss at someone or just an imaginary person, or who knows? Maybe we're not meant to know. I generally don't like to presume what the person or the artist was thinking of when writing it, because often it could be no one or we're not meant to know. So I think we'll just leave that as is. Cowboy Blues is definitely one of the more bizarre songs of this album. It's definitely, like you say, one of the ones that are more specifically country informed. This lyric is very weird. I guess this could happen to anyone. She's reminiscing on a one-off chance encounter with some guy she met at a dive bar wearing cowboy blues. Just thinking of the great time she had and thinking, was that the one? Was that where my life could have changed for the better? Or was that my chance at true love? Or not? He's probably not thinking of me. So yeah. And this song is a weird, wistful, what if lyric about that. And it's like co-sung with some guy. Do we know who the guy is?
Like Rabel, I've never heard of this guy, is listed as a background vocalist on Genius, and he's just like all through the album anyway. So it was probably him.
I think he sings on like some other songs as well, and is just on some skits. I know that Rabel guy. I feel like he's on more songs than is featured as well.
Yeah.
So who knows? This is definitely a very well written song to me. Very
hmm
simple and blunt, but definitely gets its message across and really makes you think, I think.
Yeah, it's definitely a song that indicates that she could take a solid pivot into singer songwriteriness if she wanted to. I'm kind of surprised that Kesha, of all people, wrote a song about growing old with her cats before Taylor Swift ever did.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I wouldn't even have thought of that if I hadn't also watched Miss Americana before we reviewed this album.
Yeah, which we will be
But
covering if this is not already up before this one.
that was just funny to me. Like I didn't expect Kesha to be the person who would write about being a crazy cat lady.
Yeah,
And then this kind of starts like a 3-track country-ish run on the album,
three
which is
tracks. It's two to me, but
like
we'll get into that.
yeah, it's like this resentment and then a little bit of love. Like it's maybe not country, but it's definitely it's like the first big stab at seriousness on the album, I guess. Even though Cowboy Blues is definitely jokier.
Oh, resentment. Yeah. The big takeaway from this song, the big wow factor, is that it has Brian Wilson, the legend from the Beach Boys,
Mm-hmm.
and Sturgill Simpson, who we love. We've reviewed Sound and Fury, which we both liked quite a lot. So
Yep.
if I first heard this song and didn't know any of the guest features, I maybe would have been like, "Is that Sturgill?" Maybe, but it's definitely not. No one featured on this song has a like solo Sun part. They're all sitting with Kesha, but not apart enough to be distinct enough. So I might have been like, that might be Sturgill, and might have looked it up. But first listen, I was like, where is Brian Wilson? Where is he?
Yeah.
I could not make out at all. And then second listen, I kind of first time caught some very low. It's weird. They're like lowly mixed, but they're high harmonies in the background. I was like, oh, I guess that's Brian Wilson. I guess he's on here. But and Rabel, God knows, if you're on a song sitting with Sturgill and Kesha, you're not gonna get much notice from me.
Same with me. Like we'll have to get into this later, but like when his actual song with Kesha comes up later in the album,
Yeah.
I thought it was Adam Levine.
Oh yeah, for sure. I definitely heard that similarity as well. Just to finish up on Resentment, even though you can't really, they don't improve the song necessarily. Like she could have got anyone. They don't make it worse. They're nice to have on here, and it's good that she's working with these people. I don't know if the excitement's warranted, but it's definitely a nice song. And actually, I'd say maybe the best on the album, other than the song that's kind of not on the album, Summer. That's just my opinion, though.
I'd say it's another highlight that shows how she could pivot her direction if she wanted to. Like, I would totally buy her as a modern country artist just based on these last two songs here.
Then we move on to Little Bit of Love, which is maybe the most concentrated modern, like 2019, 2020 pop song. Like, there's a lot of pop on here, but it doesn't feel specifically modern. Like, some of it does feel like holdovers from her old early 2010s phase. This is really weird. It's like very compact and short, but it has a very strong piano
Mm-hmm.
part, and when it ends, I could just hear this song on the radio. I don't know why this. I don't know if it's long enough to be a single, but it's definitely a very dedicated pop song.
Okay, so are you ready for a nice, hot, and spicy take?
Sure.
The next three songs might well be my favorites on the album.
Can't be. Well, I can agree with one of those. So why is Birthday Suit one of your favorites?
Like, I've just been kind of on and off an Indietronica kick lately, so having the, like 8-bit bleepy bloopy goodness all through this song, I just loved it. Like, I could also buy
There's
her as an electropop singer, or, I mean, obviously electropop, but an Indietronica singer.
Yeah, there's definitely things to like about this song, and there's specific vocal hooks like the bridge into the chorus that I like, but it doesn't come together as a whole for me.
That's fair. But I think it's, like, more than the sum of its parts, in a way.
Maybe, yeah. Um,
Like, it's just, like, good, goofy fun that a lot of the rest of the album is, like, either trying way too hard to be fun or it's trying to be serious and mostly succeeding on the serious part. But this actually feels like these songs just feel goofy and in successful ways.
fair enough. Okay, I will agree that Kinky which is interestingly features Kesha with a dollar sign, as if she's
Good dollar sign, huh?
yeah, as if she's invoking or becoming her old persona or old, style of performing again, which is interesting. I will agree that this is one of the better songs on the album. It feels like you said about Birthday Suit, even though I didn't agree with that song specifically, fun without trying too hard, and the skit at the start is really funny, and something I look forward to each time on the album. Speaking of those, how did you find like all those weird vocal comedic interludes that some of this album had?
Like I remember Kinky, of course, but I can't think of any others. What were there?
At the start of Cowboy Blues, she was saying to whoever co-sung it with her, like, "Oh, just sing it, come on." There's
Yeah.
like little fids like that.
Yeah, I mean, I usually don't think too hard about that sort of thing. Like, it's not like, these are 90s or 2000s hip hop album sketches.
Well, yeah, but okay, fair enough. I just
Yeah,
think
so,
of it with Kesha because of the start of Woman from Rainbow as well. Just something fun. I guess it's just some fun studio banter. She feels like
I
added
mean,
in to lighten the mood, kinda.
it's not like she's a stranger to this. I like your beard.
That's true.
Yeah,
So
so I was kind of confused about the sketch at the beginning of Kinky because, like, I didn't, like, I think it was Big Frida credited as Kinky Spice or whatever it was. And I'm just like, there is no, and she's not credited on Spotify on the
that's
song.
true.
So like when that happened, I'm just like, there is no Kinky Spice. So like, it's just weird.
Yeah,
It's also strange to me that this is the song on the album that is credited as featuring Kesha with the dollar sign, because there are tons of other songs on this thing that sound more like vintage Kesha. This sounds the least like vintage Kesha on the whole
which
thing.
is interesting.
So,
It's like
it,
this could be me, but it's not me as well. It's like it doesn't matter what you call me, I'm just this now.
yeah.
Because the song Tonight is definitely more like what you'd brand as vintage. I say it's just got elements of vintage Kesha on it.
Yeah, 100%.
So
But yeah, it's other than that, it's a great song. It's like the most overtly 80s song on the album, which like we're still kind of like in the middle of people trying to figure out where we are on 80s nostalgia, like if we're trying to kill it off or if it's continuing.
I feel like it's been going on longer than the 80s were on before. I feel
Yeah.
like it began in the late 2000s or even
Yeah.
earlier.
But at any rate, it's a great
Yeah, it
song.
is a great song. Then there's whatever the hell the potato song, because I want to is. Now I can kind of see why you like this one. I kind of like this one, but it's also a big what the hell is this?
But it's the best kind. It's like,
Yeah,
who else would have the guts to write a song this weird and put it on their album?
that's true. That's why I initially mentioned the fact that you could not predict at all where this album was going, song from song. Like listening to Kinky, I had okay. I'll be fair. This title did make me think, what the hell could this even be? But I couldn't have predicted this. A weird,
Hmm.
bouncy, almost cabaret thing musically. The whole time listening to this, I was just thinking that, yeah, you're right, Cam. This is something that only Kesha would have the gall to release. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like such weird fun. Like, if there's one saving grace to this album, like we say that there's definitely songs that have problems,
Yeah.
and like the songs don't all fit together, but it's just the weirdness of it all is kind of the glue that keeps it from falling apart. And to me, these three songs are the weirdest and just the goofiest that help the whole thing make sense in a weird way.
Is this where most of the glue is?
I think so.
Okay, then, we're going into kind of a light, not light-hearted, but good-hearted kind of song of affirmation, BFF.
Hmm.
Now, I know nothing about Rabel. I don't even know if that's how you pronounce their name, but regardless, it doesn't matter because this person obviously. Well, I don't even know anything about this person, so I don't know if this is one of Kesha's best friends or if they're just performing roles. Regardless, it does sound like it. Kesha just recounting times where she was down or didn't feel great, or vice versa with Rabel, and just times where they felt like they could be themselves together, or they cheered each other up when they were down. So it's quite a wholesome song. It's definitely something that I can look on positively. Just musically, just back and forth vocals from each of them. It definitely wears thin with me for some reason. It's like it's cute, but I don't know. It doesn't land fully with me.
Yeah, I'd agree. If it was somebody like a bigger celebrity, just somebody that we knew more about publicly, it would make
Yeah,
sense. But like I'm reading on Genius that apparently they are good friends. Yeah, it just doesn't necessarily help. And then, like I was saying earlier, Rabel sounded to me like I couldn't tell who it was. So like my brain went to, is this like Adam Levine trying to go back to like the songs about Jane era?
which would be a good development considering a decade of disappointment,
Yeah, at least a decade.
decade plus.
But it's like I don't know. His voice just doesn't necessarily work well with Kesha's.
No, and maybe uh, we're not meant to think they should because they are who they are, and who they are makes the other better for it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't fault the song for that. I just
No,
can
no.
say it's not one of my favorites on the album.
Yep, just
And I guessed it wasn't one of yours either, or it would be in the four song streak.
yeah. It's yeah, like I said, it's wholesome. It's fine.
Yeah, okay. Father daughter dance is really sad.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you had looked at how Kesha has been raised, she had no father. She was raised primarily single mum environment with her. So, this song is just sad. It's also kind of showing that she's over it, but also not. Like, thinking what would life have been like with him, and she never had a father daughter dance. Musically, it's sad acoustic song. Maybe not sad. It's, I don't know. It's definitely a song where I feel like it means a hell of a lot to Kesha. It kind of means something to me, but definitely not one of my favourites either. I feel like I've said that for more songs than are my favourites, but the songs I really like, I do really like. And I mean, I definitely don't dislike this song. It's just, I don't think it was written. It's definitely just not a song for me, if you know what I mean.
Sure. I think the biggest issue is it comes like after all those goofy tracks, and then like BFF kind of tries to bring the mood back down a little bit with
Looking at it, BFF kind of does try to transition a little bit from that, but it's also just so its own thing that it kind of can't as
yeah,
well. Maybe if this was, even though it would be a really sad part of the album, if it was between like Shadow and Cowboy Blues, just get rid of Honey, just get rid of
yeah.
that. Maybe.
But it also feels like this it deserves to be the second to last song on the album.
Or I feel like what we're coming across as here is that we'd like tracks 10 to 12, Birthday Suit, Kinky and Potato Song, to be more in the first half and maybe switch out some of them. Whatever we think of it, I feel like there's definitely ways this could have been sequenced better than it is.
Yeah. Like maybe do what I had said earlier and just split it down the middle into two like themed EPs.
Or even just two halves, but at
Yeah.
least distinguish them better.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, Chasing Thunder, I can't remember at all.
I remember it. I remember pretty. Honestly, I kind of remember it.
No, I'm sorry. I've listened to it a few times. I cannot remember it for some reason.
Yeah, like I can't. I feel that way about Summer. Like you were saying, that's one of the best on the album, but I can't really remember it that well. But
Yeah,
this one, I remember like it because when I got to it the first time I was listening, I thought, okay, this is a good closer. But then Summer came up, and I'm like, oh, there's one more. Interesting. So like, yeah, this definitely feels like it's riding off into the sunset type album, like chasing thunder, just like running after whatever's next.
yeah. And Summer, okay, I'll be honest, I don't actually. It's weird. It's like I love it when it's on, and it's definitely one of the best written songs. It's really nostalgic, and it is a song about summer without feeling too summery. I do really like it, but for some reason it's hard for me to put into words why I like it. Hope this track by track analysis isn't just showing that we flounder as we get to the end. We do value and like or put into the equation the songs at the end, obviously. Maybe just naturally out of the own way they were written, they don't become memorable in a way. Okay, so we've kind of covered every song there, right?
I think so. Yep.
I would just like to say, going into my score for this album, I am actually really happy this exists. It definitely feels like she's having a lot of fun recording this. Definitely very confident, self-assured, songs of self-assurance, but of also self-doubt that somehow coexist, as well as musically big, loud party songs and serious, sad numbers kind of coexist too. Overall, I'd say this is definitely has problems, but the more I listen to it, the less the problems are so glaring, and I just end up having like 5 or 6 amazing songs to take away. I would definitely listen to High Road, Shadow, My Own Dance, Cowboy Blues, Resentment, Kinky, and Summer a hell of a lot more. And even the songs I didn't mention, there's definitely a lot more here I like. So those are just my specific highlights that are veering on the level of quality of Rainbow. So this might sound low considering, but it's got problems with the mastering and some songs I could definitely not listen to again. I'm going to give it a 6 out of 10. Yep, that's me, Alex, 6 out of 10 guy.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I'm pretty much giving this the same rating I gave the Pet Shop Boys album because I'm gonna call it a high 6 to a low 7.
Okay.
Like, there are problems that are a little too hard to overlook, but there is a lot to love here, and I think the biggest problem most people might have with this album is that it's not thematically different enough from Rainbow to really distinguish itself, even though, like we said, it has less of the rock influence or less of the rock sound.
Yeah.
And it also has, it's not as immediately tied to the whole Dr. Luke situation as Rainbow was.
No.
So, like, I can see some people saying, "Oh, like maybe it's time to like move on and find something new to focus on." But I'm just gonna say this: I have like, and I'm slightly straw manning here because like I haven't actually seen anyone say it, but I just get the feeling that this is the kind of thing people would say in like RYM reviews.
Yeah.
But like, I have no patience for people who act like an album is only worth listening to if it's completely different from the album that came before it and if every song sounds like nothing that's ever been written before. Like, I don't mind that maybe there are definitely similarities to Rainbow on this. I feel like this is like an era for Kesha, and hopefully the next album will have more focus, whether it's on the party stuff, whether it's on the slower serious songs, or whether it's on the straight up goofy insanity of my favorite three
Yeah.
songs. I feel like she's just trying to get some of this stuff out of her system, and then hopefully the next one will have more focus to it. But in the meantime, this is a fine album in its own right. It's got problems, but I think that the quality of the best songs on here makes up for the lack of cohesion.
Okay, that's our double feature review of Pet Shop Boys Hotspot. Remember that? And Kesha's High Road.
So long ago.
Let us know what you think of not bungling together, not diminishing the album's qualities, but a package deal so we can cover more ground. What you think of the new formatting? I've been Alex, he's been Cam. I hope. I hope. I
I think
think he
so.
hopes that as well. Yeah. So catch you guys next week.
Bye.